Ny Act in New York. A lot of people talk about the SAFE Act and its ramifications, but I want to bring something very specific to your minds, maybe you were unaware of. The law states that you can only have 7 bullets in your gun in your home. When my friends and I go out to the range, we compete in local matches. At the range, you can have 10 bullets because that's allowed by this new law. I can't have an extra 8th bullet, 9th or 10th bullet in my gun at my home to save my own ass, or to save my wife, or save my neighbors. In my home, there is a list on New York Firearms website that lists different crimes that are lower felonies. To have an extra bullet in my gun to save my own life, if I need it, is a Class D felony. And these crimes I'm about to tell you are deemed worse in my mind and others, but by the state law, they're actually not as bad. You cannot criminally obstruct breathing or blood circulation. You can't choke or suffocate someone, but it's not as bad as having an extra bullet in my gun. You cannot criminally negligent homicide. Persistent sexual abuse. That means a repeat child molester must be caught and convicted in 2 separate cases before the charges even reach that level. And that's not as bad as me having an extra opportunity to save a life in my own home. Unlawful imprisonment is not as bad. Female genital mutilation, that is really bizarre, and yet that's not as bad as me having an extra opportunity to save a life. You laugh, but this is a reality. Look at the laws. It's backwards. Substitution of children. You can't go and swap babies in a hospital for some reason, but that's not as bad. Using a child to commit a controlled substance offense is also not as bad. That's a Class E felony. Rioting in the 2nd, 1st degree, or inciting to riot is not as bad. Criminal anarchy is on the books, and that's not as bad. Placing a false bomb or hazardous substance. Unlawful surveillance, meaning you can't put a surveillance camera in a Starbucks bathroom for sexual gratification. That's only a Class E felony. Incest. Possessing an obscene sexual performance by a child or possessing a sexual performance by a child is not as bad as me just having an extra bullet in my gun just to save my own life. You can rationalize and justify anything away because it seems like a good idea. It seems like, oh, well, that makes sense. Look at history. Native Americans were just rationalized away because the government, they were in the way of us, in the way of the government. Japanese Americans are in World War II because we thought, oh, for national security, they're a threat. We should put them away somewhere because they're the other fringe group. You can ratify anything. You can justify anything, but look more closely, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chen.